We, like so many parents, have so many questions, and we're grateful that you're sitting down to talk to us right now. So my first question, Plan B plus remote. Do you still believe that is the best option for the school district today, July 28th?
We do believe that our Plan B plus remote is the best option that gives us the best opportunity to provide a quality education for all of our students. The one caveat that I would add is that in a pandemic such as the one that we're in, information changes daily and sometimes multiple times per day. And so we have an obligation to monitor the data and the information that is available to us. And if we need to shift or make adjustments to our plans, then certainly we have that obligation and responsibility to do so, to make sure that we continue to provide the best, most robust education environment, and do so in a safe manner.
There are a number of teachers who are still calling for a full Plan C rollout from day one. There are also a number of parents who are saying, what's the point in sending kids to school for 2 weeks? If it's unsafe, it should just be automatically Plan C, full remote. Speak to those groups who are saying that they don't see any value or safety in going to school, even for those 2 weeks.
I certainly understand, and I hear very loudly and very clearly the concerns that some of our teachers and families have. And I want to acknowledge that because those concerns are real. And as a parent myself, I have made decisions, and these have not always been easy decisions to make. And so I understand what families are grappling with. I understand what our teachers are grappling with. And so it's important that we hear those concerns and that we take those concerns into account as part of our planning process to reopen schools. We also want to be able to balance that with the need to make sure that all students have all the resources that they need to be successful in a remote learning environment. And the plan is to be able to have students come back during those first 2 weeks, beginning August the 17th, and have students meet their teachers, connect with their teacher and their peers, receive all of the resources and tools that they need, including refreshment of laptops or Chromebook or an iPad, and also make sure that all students have access to connectivity. And so we think the first 2 weeks, we believe, is an opportune time to be able to do that during what we're calling an orientation period. Now, make no mistake about it, we will also be providing instruction beginning August 17th as well. But we believe that orientation period gives us an opportunity to provide students with that meaningful connection with teachers and peers and receive the resources that they need, so that during the remote learning period, and while we want to return to some portion of in-person learning as soon as possible, we know that we are not going to be able to do that until it is safe to do so. So we want to make sure, no matter how long the remote learning period lasts, students have all of the resources and tools that they need to be successful.
Let's speak about those resources if you can. Does that mean one Chromebook per family? Does that mean per student? What are you aiming to get into the hands of kids? And then my second part to that is, it is one thing to give kids technology. It is another thing to ensure that they are technologically literate. So for family members who may not know how to help their children, what's being done to make sure that children can also operate these devices that many of them have never laid hands on outside of a school setting before?
That's a great question. And one of the things that we are committed to doing, particularly during those first 2 weeks, is making sure that students know how to navigate our online learning platform, so that when they are in a remote environment, that it will work more seamlessly. We're also providing opportunities, and we will be announcing these in the coming weeks. We will be providing opportunities for families to become more comfortable with our Canvas, our learning management system. So we'll be providing opportunities for families, our teachers, when they return in a short while to the classroom for professional development. We will also be providing opportunities for them to develop a more of a comfort level with that online learning platform as well.
There are some children, though, no matter how much training you give them, online learning is not going to be the best way for them to learn. I mean, we would all submit online learning is not the best way for any child to learn, but particularly children with special needs or IEPs. I have quotes from some parents, because we asked parents to tell us what they would ask you, and they said, special needs children are being left in the dust. Do you understand and recognize the challenges that they'll face? What wraparound services will be provided for my child who I can't even get to sit down to Skype with his grandparents for 5 minutes? Those are the questions that are being asked right now from parents of special needs kids. So I'll ask you, what's being done for those kids who cannot learn through a computer?
Well, thank you for lifting that up. And I certainly do know staff has heard the concerns of some of our families. We recognize the difficulties remote learning poses for families and guardians of students who have disabilities. And we also recognize the fact that all students with disabilities are entitled to a free, appropriate public education. And so it is our goal, and it has always been the goal of our exceptional children team to work alongside of our senior leaders in the district in every department to make sure that we are providing the best approach for instructional delivery during this pandemic for our students who have disabilities. We learned a lot. We learned a lot of important lessons during that period of remote learning last spring that we will utilize to help us provide a more better product for our students and our families. So I do hear those concerns.
Does that mean that there could be exemptions where some students could be allowed into school buildings to receive some of the services or additional support that they would need?
Well, as you probably know, that we do have students who have an IEP, which is an individualized education plan. And so the IEP could call for students to receive some of their learning in an in-person environment. And so if that is something that the IEP team deems is necessary, we will work very closely with our families to make sure that we're providing all students what they need to be successful.
Another question that we're hearing a lot, a little bit of background. What are the metrics that are going to be used to determine when you'll move from Plan B plus remote to Plan C or to Plan B or to Plan A? When we spoke to Board Chair Lee Stashew, she said that there was a task force, I believe, that's been assembled, and that you were also working closely with the health department. Give parents some of the specifics, the metrics that you're going to be looking at and making some of the decisions moving forward.
That's a great question. And so we have developed a medical advisory team that will be comprised of officials from our local public health department, including Gibby Harris, who leads our public health department. It will also include representatives from our two private healthcare providers, both Novant and Atrium. We will also have members of our central office team on that advisory council as well. And so the charge of that council is exactly what you just said. It is to develop a set of metrics, to recommend a set of metrics to the district that we can then use to help us determine when it is best to navigate in between plans. And so that team, we're hoping to have the first meeting very soon, but that is the charge of that team, is to develop a set of metrics that they can recommend to the school district.
I'm being told I have time for one more question, so I'm going to ask a two-part question, and that's about the teachers. For the teachers who say they do not feel safe, maybe they don't have a health issue, but they don't feel safe. Maybe they live with somebody who does, or they just don't feel comfortable. Will they have guarantees that they will still have a job? And then for the non-certified people who are in our schools every day, maybe the instructional assistants, maybe they are the cafeteria workers. What happens with them? How many people stand to lose their jobs if we're in a remote learning environment, and what protections are being put in place, both for the educators who may not feel safe returning and also for those who wouldn't have the same protections that certified teachers do?
Yes, so great question. For our non-exempt staff, specifically our custodians, our bus drivers, our school nutrition workers, one of the things that I shared at a recent school board meeting is that, one of the things that keeps me up at night is the fact that if we are in a remote learning environment for a prolonged period of time, that is certainly a challenge that we will have to look at and overcome in terms of making sure that our non-exempt employees have work opportunities within the district. It may be alternative assignments. It could also include professional development. But I am worried, I am concerned if we're in a remote environment for a prolonged period of time, being able to make sure that we're compensating our non-exempt staff. So that's certainly a challenge, and we will continue to advocate on their behalf for additional resources that would allow us to continue to compensate them and provide alternative work. And so as it relates to our teachers, one of the things that you are aware of, and this is not just for teachers, but all staff, if there are circumstances where staff members have health challenges and they fall within a high-risk category, then there is a process, and we will certainly work to accommodate those staff members who fall into those high-risk categories, who may not be able to, for example, provide the services in their regular job. And so for other employees who do have concerns, we will do our best to work with them as well to provide alternative assignments. I cannot guarantee that, but we will certainly work with all of our employees to make sure that we're trying to accommodate them in the best form possible.
Superintendent Earnest Winston, we appreciate your time. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and hope you stay safe out there.
Same to you. Thank you. Be well.